Well, if you grew up a picky eater, or maybe you've got some picky eaters at home, you're not alone. And it might not even necessarily be that you did something different or wrong, or that you have produced picky eaters for no reason.
Before we get into this, I'm going to preface all of this by saying none of this counts for me. My mom tried to do all the right things, and everything we're about to tell you is for kids that are young now and picky, because I was picky despite all the best efforts of my mom.
Charlie really dug his heels in. A new book argues that American kids have become the pickiest eaters in history, but experts say it's not because children are naturally fussy. Instead, it's largely the result of cultural changes in how kids are fed. Historian Helen Zoe Veit says that in the 1800s, children typically ate the same foods as adults, including strong flavors like pickles, shellfish, and vegetables. Back then, kids were known for having adventurous appetites rather than refusing food. You wouldn't have made it through the 1800s, huh?
No.
They began to change that in the early 20th century when experts started promoting scientific child feeding advice that emphasized bland, simple foods for kids. At the same time, food companies began marketing special kid foods like sugary cereals, snack foods, and processed meals, which gradually narrowed children's tastes. The result is today's familiar pattern of kids who now gravitate towards a small list of safe foods like chicken nuggets, fries, and mac and cheese, and avoid stronger flavors and unfamiliar dishes.
Who could have seen it coming that if you just do things to the whims of people that don't know anything yet, that you don't get the best results?
Yeah, you condition kids to be, and I mean, we know by nature a lot of sugary foods like that might be in these cereals are kind of addicting. It lights up your brain in all the ways that you're like, I want to eat this forever. And then it's hard sometimes to kind of dial it back because some of the healthier but more basic foods don't necessarily have that same rush in our brain or in our bloodstream.
Also, when you talk about going back to the 1800s or whatever and them eating the same, I'm sure there was a real quick lesson there of if you don't get some of this food now, there will not be food later. So
that is true. I think
there was probably a survival instinct component to all of that also went in with the more adventurous eating, because you might not eat it all.
Right. You were an adventurous eater or you didn't eat. And I do think, too, maybe some of the stronger flavors also came from maybe a lot more food being pickled. The way that food was preserved back then, it was preserved with a lot of salt. It was preserved with a lot of things. So I feel like you may have had some stronger flavors anyway, but if that's what you know, that's what you know. I mean, I have a hard time relating to the picky eaters of the world because I'm just not. And I don't think I ever really was a picky eater. There's a select few
I always
things.
was. I still am. I eat better than I ever have, and I'm still what you would call a pretty picky eater now.
Yeah.
What's interesting to me about all of this, now, this is specifically targeting kids at the moment. I do think, though, that we have more taste options now than at any time in history. At least here, we've sort of taken the best of every culture from all over. Sriracha's a big thing, and Indian spices if you like that, or Mexican food if you want that, or there are places you get great Ethiopian food.
You can travel the world.
You can travel the world without leaving your city, basically, for food now and culinary options, if you like that stuff. So it's interesting that we both have more options than at any time, and this is a problem.
Yeah, still remains true. So I thought it was very interesting, and I mean, we also talked about earlier in the show the sort of marketing of protein right now that seems to be hitting, that's targeting adults. But it feels a little like perhaps the marketing of stuff that was for kids really took off. I mean, I feel like the 80s and 90s was the first time that kids were meant to be seen and heard. And so you had a lot of marketing directed right to kids. And so maybe that's how we ended up with picky eaters. There you go.
It's possible. I just know I put something in my mouth. I'm like, nope, nope, not doing that.
That's it for Charlie. But we got more Coast Life coming at you. We're taking a trip to the Habitat for Humanity on the way.